Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Cover One Roundup here live on the Cover One YouTube channel each and every Monday night, or subsequently wherever you listen to your podcasts. I am your host, Kyle Silagyi, joined this and every week by co-host David Fox. And ooh boy, do we have a doozy for you today. The Buffalo Bills are going back to the playoffs. I'll say it again for the people in the back of the room. I have an audience back here, live studio audience.
Actually, I'm the one who has the audience back here.
Yes. Open the door so I can scream.
We're not doing that. We're not going to be doing that. That is not what we're doing tonight.
David's at some sort of party with a bunch of vibrant people, we'll say, a bunch of lively people.
Let's call it that.
And that they're alive. So this is the Cover One Roundup. Buffalo Bills are going back to the playoffs for the fourth consecutive year, and also the fifth time in 6 years. The Bills are quite a good team. We're going to get into that here. They defeat the Miami Dolphins 32-29, a weird score, a score that I've written down a couple of times now, and it's still just a weird score just to talk about and write, because 32-29 is just not a very common football score. But we'll get into the specifics of that game. Josh Allen put on a show. Ken Dorsey did for roughly a half. There's a lot of things we're going to have to talk about. Roy Collins writes, please, defense, learn how to tackle. That is certainly going to be a talking point that we will get to. But before we do that, David, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing, you know how sometimes you're like going through something in life and like people know about it, right? And then like they ask you in public, like, oh my gosh, how are things going? And then you kind of just have to pull out one of these, just like, oh my gosh, things are going so great. Like things are going awesome. I'm so glad you asked me in this public area. I'm doing regular. I'm doing regular right now.
Okay, well,
that's not what I'm saying is happening here. That was just what I thought of. Yeah, I'm doing fine actually.
Hey, if you need to talk, that's what we're here for. We're all here to talk. We can postpone this show. We don't need to talk about the Bills if we don't want to. That's what I love about Cover One, is we can do whatever we want on this Bills related channel. We could do a therapy session right now, and people would love it. We'd actually get more viewers. So
listen, in the summer we spent like the last 20 minutes of each podcast talking about Star Wars. So
which we still could. I think we could do it again. I would love to do it again. All right.
Fotia, with what is going to be the most accurate statement of the night. We might as well end the podcast on this. Why on earth would anyone ever go out in public? That's your first problem. You know what? I agree wholeheartedly. Thank you. I don't.
I really don't. To be fair, I don't. But not when I don't have to. I tend to avoid that. But before we get into the specifics again of what we're going to talk about, which I put it in a graphic. This is what we're getting to today. We're getting our takeaways from the game. Again, Josh Allen is big. So is Dawson Knox and a bunch of other stuff. Also, what went right and what went wrong. True or rubbish, which is a marriage-saving segment. I have an anecdote to share, David. Anecdote is what I meant to say. That is what I said.
Either one.
And more. So yeah, I was out and about this last week. I was in public. And I was approached by a man. And he said, as I often am in public, and these people come up to me and they say, "I'm such a big fan of your show, of your work. Thank you for everything you do for the Cover One Network." And it's just like, that's what I'm here for.
You can't go anywhere. You're practically celebrity status,
right? And so he comes up to me and he's like, "I just need to say thank you. You saved my marriage." And I was like, "What did I do this time?" And he was like, so we were watching the Cover One Roundup, as we do each and every Monday night at 7 p.m. live on the Cover One YouTube channel. And I had divorce papers in my hand about to sign. And then they rekindled their love over watching the True or Rubbish segment. Wow. They interacted with each other, and then they finished each other's sentences. And now they're married again. They're happy. And
absolutely,
I was like, sir, we're at a urinal. Please leave me alone.
Now I do have to ask, Kyle, were these people One Pass subscribers to the Cover One Network?
They were One Pass subscribers.
Wow.
Yes, they are subscribed to Cover One Pass. They are in the Cover One Premium Slack, which you can get access to. If you pay just $57 a year, look at that value. You get access to the Slack, to great articles written on the website, and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, it's right here on the screen. Check out Cover One Pass. Become an insider today, just as the people whose marriage I saved are. Also, this show and Cover One in general are brought to you by BetUS, who we will hear from now from our colleague, Greg Thompson.
Hey guys, Cover One is excited to announce our new partnership with BetUS. BetUS has live wagering on all major games, the best betting variety in the business, and an easy deposit and withdrawal process with the fastest payouts in the industry. Our loyal Cover One fans get a choice between two exclusive offers, either a 125% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,500 or a free $50 bet with no deposit required. Just use promo code COVER1 on the links provided in the show description below. BetUS, where the game begins.
BetUS, thank you for sponsoring this show and Cover One in general. Speaking of sponsoring Cover One, we got a lot of ad reads to get through today. So this show and Cover One in general are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. David, can you tell us a little bit about Underdog?
I would love to tell everyone about my favorite fantasy website, and that is Underdog Fantasy. Now, did you get to draft Josh Allen in your home league? If you did, you're probably in your playoffs, probably contending for a championship at this point, as I am. I mean, I didn't do it with Josh Allen, but nonetheless, if you no bitterness from Kyle there. If you use Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em contest, you can win money predicting if Josh Allen will go over his yard total, his touchdowns, his completions, and more. If you think Allen to Diggs will blow up this week, you can put them both in your Pick'em. Predict up to 5 different over-unders correctly to win 20 times your original money. Use the promo code COVER1, that's number 1, when signing up to make your first deposit. Underdog will match that deposit up to $100. That is $100 in free play. Even with inflation, that is an incredible value. If you use promo code COVER1, sign up today and start winning now.
Big money moves out here. Big money moves. Again, thank you, Cover One. Or not Cover One. Well, thank you, Cover One. But also Underdog Fantasy.
No. Thank you, Cover One, for putting up with all the stuff that we do on this podcast.
Yeah, thank you. And what Underdog Fantasy and BetUS.
Also
thank you so much. We figured it out. The brain, it just took a minute, but we figured it out. Okay. Speaking of fantasy football, my team has a horseshoe up its ass. It really does. I benched Trevor Lawrence, who for some reason is QB1 now in all of football.
Benched Trevor? Oh, wait. Who did you bench Trevor Lawrence for?
I don't want to talk about it. It's not.
Who did you bench Trevor
We're not
Lawrence
talking
for?
about it, David. We're moving on.
Was it Derek Carr?
No. Though I did platoon Derek Carr and Trevor Lawrence for much of the season. I'm not talking about it.
Who did you bet?
I'm moving on, David.
I'm just saying I beat my. I was in the playoffs. I was the number 4 seed, just snuck in there, and I beat the number 1 team by 50 points. Because I started Trevor Lawrence.
I got exposed.
God. Are you kidding?
Exposed.
Kyle.
David, I won, though. I won. We're going to right the wrong next week. Trevor Lawrence is back in the lineup, and I'm going to beat Faux in the fantasy playoffs. So I don't want to talk about it, David. We're moving on. I shouldn't have said anything. Josh Allen is the QB1 in fantasy football, and that's who we're going to talk about right now because he was QB1 in this game, certainly. Josh Allen took over in this Buffalo Bills win over the Miami Dolphins, finishing the game 25 of 40 for 304 yards, 4 total touchdowns, most of those stats coming in the first half, actually, because then say what you will of what happened to the offense in the second half. We'll get into that, I'm sure. But the offense, execution-wise and maybe play calling-wise, did kind of I don't even know about play calling-wise, but in the second half, it did kind of dip a little bit, and we'll get into that. But again, Allen, overall, a very strong game, 77 rushing yards as well. Not a flawless game, David, as you wrote in your recap after, but it was a Josh Allen game, right? This is the type of game that we've come to love and expect from Josh Allen. Just those splash, memorable plays that he's having to make with increasing frequency given the offense this year. But he delivers, right? In this game, the Bills win this game because of Josh Allen. At the end of the day, thank you. Yes, smash the like.
Smash the like.
But yeah, just
we appreciate it. Thank you.
A couple of the plays just that kind of stick out to me thinking back on this game. The touchdown to James Cook at the end of the first half, which Universally, I'm sure we were all just screaming. I know I was screaming like, you idiot, you idiot.
Yep.
What are you doing? And like, as he's rolling out and time's expiring, and then James Cook goes to the boundary and whammo bammo, touchdown Bills, which was great. And then in the fourth quarter had that 44-yard run once the snow started coming down, and then the 2-point conversion that wasn't, but then was actually, but they cut to commercial at a bad time. But just like this is the type of game that reminds you, despite everything, right? And there are a lot of extenuating circumstances surrounding the Buffalo Bills right now. Von Miller is out for the rest of the year. The offense has been inconsistent from a play design, play calling, and execution standpoint. And like Mitch Morse now has another concussion. And we don't know if he's going to come, like this is all speculation at this point, but we don't know if he's going to come back this season or at all. Well, again, speculation, but you're just looking at it for what it is. This athlete just got his 6th documented concussion or whatever. Like this is like I'm concerned about the man's health, really. So that's kind of just all I'm talking about there. But again, just everyone is banged up. Poyer is playing hurt. Milano is playing injured, right? Just like there are so many things going against this team right now. But when you have Josh Allen, who can take over games in a way that is unique to him, Josh Allen is truly one of one. And like there are only a few other quarterbacks in the NFL who can take over games in a way similar. No one can do it like he does, but I just mean in terms of like, okay, he turned it on and you're not beating him, right? Like this is just Josh Allen is winning the game. Like that's exactly what happened in this game. And again, like I was going to talk about Ken Dorsey and just how the play calling kind of was weird, but because like I ranted about it last week about how it's frustrating that the offense too often boils down to Josh Allen go and make a play, right? That is frustrating. But in this game, in the fourth quarter, when that snow starts coming down, I think that is the only option you have. Like, I think if you don't do that, you are kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage. You are doing yourself a disservice if you have a 6'5", 240-pound man who is bigger than everyone, faster than everyone, stronger than everyone, and it is snowing at a very, very good clip, very decent rate, and the winds are blowing that snow around. If you do not take advantage of the fact that you're just bigger, faster, stronger, then you're not running the offense how you should. So, like, again, in the past, I've critiqued Dorsey for doing the same thing, but in this situation, he should have done it, and he did exactly what he should have done in this situation, unleashing Josh Allen specifically on the ground, and again, picks up 44 yards, has that 2-point conversion. And I guess, like, this game really is just the reiteration of what we all knew, and that is the Bills, regardless of the circumstances, like the odds are stacking against them with every passing day because something else is happening and someone's getting hurt or whatever is happening. But the Bills are still going to be a very tough out come playoffs, come January, because they have Josh Allen who can just do things that no one else can do.
Yeah. And I mean, there's only so much complaining that you can do with the fact that, you know, your offensive coordinator recognizes how special and talented your quarterback is and just wants him to do what he does, basically. Now there's a certain point where that becomes excessive and it becomes like the only thing that you're relying on. That being said, there seem to be complaints about Dorsey in the second half and play calling, but I thought first of all, I think the first half was extremely good from an offensive standpoint. In fact, one of the things that has been an issue for most of the season was the red zone, and they were fantastic in the red zone. I mean, they were scoring touchdowns while the Dolphins were getting field goals. I mean, that's what you want to do. That's how you want to win this game. That's how they ended up winning this game. Quite frankly, it was the fact the Dolphins couldn't convert those early drives into touchdowns, and the Bills were able to. So I thought Dorsey did a good job. Second half, there was a little bit of execution and maybe play call or two going the wrong way, but like that's just sort of the normal ebb and flow of a game. So I'm not gonna like hammer unnecessarily on Ken Dorsey just because they didn't score on every single drive, right? Like they ended up doing exactly what they needed to do. And although that being said, what I did find really funny, I did tweet about this, was just that, there were some people earlier in the season, actually really just a couple of weeks ago, who were a bit flabbergasted at the fact that Bills fans were not overly happy with Ken Dorsey. And one particular analyst that I do respect and look into a lot said that he felt Dorsey was doing a great job at finding answers to problems that Daboll was not able to, because he felt like Daboll's offense was very gimmicky and relied too much on Josh Allen run as his main answer. Well, what was the thing that Dorsey turned to when the Bills needed a spark on offense, but designed quarterback runs with Josh Allen? So that's all I gotta say about that.
Who would have
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was a perfectly good game from Dorsey. I didn't think that it was that bad. It definitely wasn't bad. I don't want to say that. It definitely was not a bad game from Dorsey. I thought it was a good game overall. I mean, you scored 32 points against a defense that you honestly should be able to score 32 points on. It's pretty middling. It's pretty middle of the road. They're not like awful because they have enough good players like Bradley Chubb, like
or Nick Chubb, according to Mark Sanchez.
God, Mark Sanchez, what a mess.
He's good at his job.
He is the butt fumble of not podcasting, but of broadcasters at this point. It's just bad. He's just so weird, man. I don't get it. There's people that really like him too, and I don't really get it at all. But you have, Bradley Chubb, you have Jalen Phillips, you have Christian Wilkins, the nut grabber, you have Javon Holland. Like, there's good players on this defense. They're just not like working in a cohesive way to actually maximize all the talent that they have. And that's on the defensive coordinator, but like, they have enough talent to be where they are, which is just sort of a middling defense. But that is the sort of defense that you should be able to, as like a top tier offense, which the Bills are, be able to score 32 points on. And that's exactly what they were supposed to do. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, Dorsey did this wrong or did that wrong, blah, blah, blah. They scored 32 points. They were very consistent in the first half, stumbled a little bit in the third quarter. Really, the whole team stumbled in the third quarter. So I can't just say Ken Dorsey was the only problem, blah, 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 blah. It was the defense. It was the special teams that just took a dirt nap in the third quarter. Then the fourth quarter, the snow started and everything was right again. So yeah, I'm not going to, I thought it was a very good Josh Allen game. I thought it was a good Ken Dorsey game. Just really good all around from the offense as a whole. And that is in spite of the fact that offensive line is in desperate need of anything. And right now they're about to get what quite literally accounts as anything in Ike Butker coming back from his, was this an Achilles injury?
I think
right?
so, yeah. He tore it late last year. Ike Butker's great. Again, Ike Butker's just
I don't want to make fun of Ike Butker, but like,
it's just so funny because he's just been around forever, right? He's just one of those guys who has been around forever, has been generally inoffensive, and now he's probably going to start, right? We'll see what happens with Mitch Morse, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, it is difficult, I guess, to give Dorsey too many of his flowers, I guess. And like, you guys know that this might sound biased because I have been very outspoken against Ken Dorsey when I haven't, liked what he's been doing. But like, I will say, as you said, David, in the first half, he had a good game. And then as Roy Collins right here, that first drive in the third quarter was abysmal. Yes. But again, the whole team kind of in the third quarter, but it is just I don't know if I am giving him his flowers, if I'm just like, he did what he was going to do anyway, but there was snow this time, so I'm okay with it. Like, he did what he was going to do, but he should have done it, so I'm fine with it. So that's kind of my take on Ken Dorsey, and Josh Allen delivered, took over the game. And again, Bills are going to be in every game they ever play in because they have a 6'5", 240-pound person at quarterback, and a lot of other teams don't. So good for them. David, what is your first takeaway here?
Knox. Who's there? Oh, the tight end you paid a bunch of money to.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
And just again, so the people at home know, David wrote that in our outline. He wrote that joke, and I put a note. I said, editor's note, you can't do this unless you say that verbatim. So David
I was always planning to do it exactly that. I just thought it was hilarious that you actually put that in.
Knox.
Listen, my dad has been doing that bit since like his rookie year. And now I worked it into the podcast, so you're welcome. But yeah, I mean, this has been one of the more, for me, frustrating parts of the Bills season thus far, and especially the offense is just the lack of Dawson Knox as a part of the passing game as an actual receiver. And in the last couple of weeks, finally getting that back in there, and it's great to see it. And it's great to see him just like making plays and scoring touchdowns and just like, this is the guy. This is the guy that they actually drafted in the third round. They spent time to develop. Shout out Rob Boris. This is the unofficial Rob Boris stand podcast.
You and your Rob Boris love.
I will never get off that. I will never. This is going to be part of my brain now. But just he's been great. He had a couple of drops as DF forever. Just for me, the drops have been the most frustrating. I get that. There were a couple of drops. They came back to back, unfortunately, but the Bills were able to overcome those two drops and score later in that exact drive. Dawson Knox is to me an answer that they need to start working into the offense more. I mean, they're not getting what they need out of the slot position, whether it's McKenzie, whether it's washed up Cole Beasley, whether it's whoever else they decide to throw in there, or Khalil Shakir,
never
or whatever.
Khalil Shakir, never.
Apparently it's never Khalil Shakir. Well, never Khalil. But I mean, if you're not going to use any of those guys, or if those guys are just going to drop passes or whatever, like, go throw Dawson Knox out there, because like he's a good player, and like especially when you can use him underneath, he has that ability and athleticism and strength to be able to break tackles, to be able to pick up hard yards. Like, it's really good. I think it's really impressive. Kevin, fellow C1 content creator,
Kevin.
With the Boris needs to develop a tight end too, though. Well, since you bring it up. Well, here's the thing,
Quentin
though.
Morris.
First touchdown, Quentin Morris. First touchdown of the game. First touchdown of Quentin Morris's career. It was a great catch, by the way. That was a great catch by Quentin Morris. I'm not saying that Quentin Morris is like for sure tight end too. And they have spent a long time trying to make Tommy Sweeney a thing, and he's just never going to be a thing. Maybe Quentin Morris ends up being that guy. I don't know. But I mean, we've definitely seen some good out of Quentin Morris from the preseason and the regular season. I don't know. I feel very strongly about Dawson Knox being able to be another answer for this offense that isn't Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis. I want more. I just want more of Dawson Knox. I think that this game was a good example of why you should throw more to Dawson Knox. Not just that great catch and run that he had early on, but also that touchdown that he scored. Eric did a little breakdown of it, and he said that's probably the best route that Dawson Knox has ever run in his career, which probably true. I mean, it was a good play. It was just this is the sort of thing that a good tight end is supposed to do. I think some fans need to like sort of temper their expectations on what a good tight end actually is. Like, a good tight end does not mean you are Travis Kelce, because Travis Kelce is just in an entire league of his own. Mm-hmm. But a good tight end really is what Dawson Knox is. He's a good blocker at this point in his career. He was not to start his career. He has developed his blocking in a very, very good way. He's a good pass catcher with some inconsistencies with just catching, but so be it. Because when he does catch the ball, it's usually for a big play. It's usually for, good yards, and he usually can pick up extra yards after the catch. there's only so much more that a tight end can do to become what he is. I mean, he's a good player, and I don't think that just because he has a couple of drops that he needs to be underrated or undersold. He's a good player. That's all. That's all I'm trying to say. It's a very, very good player. And a good
No,
tight end.
he is a good player, and I'm glad that we're seeing life out of him and the just secondary weapons in general, right? Like Nyheim Hines gets a touchdown,
Yeah.
the other night. Like that's big, right? It is nice to see some of those like not non-Diggs playmakers getting the ball.
A tight end scored a touchdown. 2 tight ends scored a touchdown, actually, and a running back scored a touchdown.
Yeah, Quentin Morris.
That's what you want. That's what you want.
I do want to talk about the tight end position in general because that was a good. I think this is a good discussion to have. Just like, yeah, Dawson Knox is not Travis Kelce. He's not George Kittle, or George Kittle isn't George Kittle anymore. But like, he's not George Kittle of old. He's not Darren Waller of old. But just like the reason why those players are so valuable is because there are so few of them at the tight end position, right? The reason why Travis Kelce is so valuable is because he's the only one. He is the only Travis Kelce. And just like, and you bring up Dawson Knox really developing as a blocker, and just like that was kind of his role for the first however many weeks of the season, right? It was just like an extra blocker, right? That's kind of what he was relegated to. Now it's good that he's kind of coming on. But again, he has developed as a blocker, and that is, again, you can attribute that to him, but you also have to attribute it to coaching and development and, Rob Boris, right? If you want to give a shout out there. But just like to go back to what Kevin says, Boris needs to develop a TE2 though. And that's why it is the development of Dawson Knox that makes me excited for Quentin Morris for the future, because you kind of look at them, they come from not identical, but similar backgrounds, right? Like Dawson Knox was a high school quarterback recruited to Ole Miss as a quarterback. And then I think Quentin Morris was a wide receiver going to Bowling Green. But just in terms of like, they were athletes who in general, in the grand scheme of things, are relatively new to the tight end position, right? And like Quentin Morris is still learning the kinks of being a tight end. Yeah. He's still learning how to block. He's still, right? Like, he's only been a tight end for a couple of years. But that, again, it is the development of Dawson Knox and what they were able to turn an athlete into at the tight end position, in which, as you said, for all intents and purposes, just a good tight end. I do think they'll be able to get – I don't think they will get a Dawson Knox type of player out of Quentin Morris, but I think you'll get a very serviceable tight end too, who can make some plays like he did in this game. So does that wrap up Dawson Knox talk?
I'm good.
We have to switch to the defensive side of the ball here.
We do.
Which, again, the Bills allow 29 points in this game to Miami, which is not awful. It's not good, right? Not great, not terrible. Yeah. Given the offensive firepower this team has, right? This is a team that employs Tua Tagovailoa, which he's a quarterback. He's good. He had a good game, and he's generally been good this year. And Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. This is a team that just has fast dudes. They're just.
This is a team that has been scoring an inordinate amount of points, while also ignoring one of their better players on offense from the last couple of years, in Mike Gesicki, who is just like non-existent in this offense because he's not actually
not a fast dude.
Well, it's because he's not an actual tight end, and Mike McDaniel does not think that like people who are not tight ends should not have the title of tight end. Look, here's the thing: Mike Gesicki is who NFL teams wanted Kelvin Benjamin to be. Am I wrong?
I never thought about it like that, but that's interesting.
Can't block, not really an athlete, big, tall, kind of weird, awkward running jump ball specialist.
Yeah.
That's Kelvin Benjamin. That's what they wanted Kelvin Benjamin to be. So, Mike Gesicki, tight end 2 for the Bills, 2024.
Oh boy, no, he'll be slot receiver 6. Like we don't need another one of those. But yeah, I just want to talk about the tackling in this game, because tackling wasn't great in this game. 10.
It was quite bad.
Yeah, it was quite bad. 10 total missed tackles in this game. 9 against the run.
That was it.
According to PFF, man, like I just go off the numbers I can find, but according to PFF, they recorded 10 missed tackles in this game. And again, 9 against the run. And Raheem Mostert was just shrugging dudes off at the beginning of this game. He looked like he was on route to 200 total yards easy. Thankfully, the Bills kind of stopped him as the game went on. But again, tackling just throughout the game from I feel like every perspective wasn't good in terms of actual execution of the tackles and the angles that some guys were taking to try to make the tackles. They weren't great. And again, you can make the argument where it's these dudes are very fast. Like Jalen Waddle is an otherworldly speedster. Tyreek Hill is an otherworldly athlete and speed guy. Raheem Mostert is very, very, very fast. So there's only so much you can do in terms of trying to take an angle against that speed, because they take another step and your angle's off, kind of, where it's just you can't really do much against that speed in terms of angles and stuff like that. But that is true of the Miami game, but I feel like that would be disingenuous because the tackling in general has kind of become somewhat, I don't want to say of an issue for this team, but again, you just look at the numbers.
It's disconcerting.
It is disconcerting or discerning, whichever the word is. I don't know. But they start the season. I just went through PFF today. Week 1, they have 6 missed tackles. Not bad. Week 2, 4 missed tackles. Not really good. Week 3, 3 missed tackles, right? They start the season pretty sound when it comes to tackling. But since week 6, they have missed double-digit tackles in each game, right? So, this is a thing where it's just it's not necessarily costing them games. It would have been one of the things that cost them this game had they ultimately lost. It's just the poor tackling in general. But, I mean, ultimately, like I said, Josh Allen takes over this game. But it's just it's concerning. And, it's the same culprits every week, right? I have been a very strong Damar Hamlin supporter on this podcast. Going back to last season, I've been a very strong Damar Hamlin supporter, but dude forgot how to tackle. It was always a bugaboo for him, but now it's just oh, this isn't good. This is you have gone from a minus tackler to just not a good tackler. And now, the rest of his play is kind of becoming more noticeably poor. So that's disconcerting. And then Epinesa, I don't know what to say about AJ Epinesa at this point. Just I
don't even want to call it a tackle attempt on that long Mostert run. Bad. That was just really bad. I don't really know how else to put that. That was it was just that was fugly. Bad.
Yeah, no, that again, just tackling in general was not good in this game. And how do they fix it? How do they fix this moving forward? Is it?
I mean, do you fix it? I mean, I don't know. This is not really something you really fix in the middle of the season. It's not like you could just run a bunch of tackling drills in practice.
Why can't you run Oklahoma's in practice? Why can't you do Urban Meyer?
Because the NFLPA said no, Kyle.
Coward.
God.
Cowards.
Are you anti-union now?
What is this? Oh, sorry. The 1984 is for a later bit. Okay, never mind. Stay tuned. But no, it's just it's not something. I don't think it is something that you can just fix right now, right? Because it's it's a mindset, and that's what Sean McDermott says all the time,
right? And it's not something you can't just sit here and say they can't tackle, because we know that they can. Like you just said, they started the year tackling perfectly fine and well, but I mean, you also have some guys like Milano who are playing through injury. That can't help, because that's just. You have to bring your body entirely when you're tackling and hitting hard, and you can't really do that in those circumstances, or at least your brain doesn't want you to. You kind of have to overcome your brain, which is tough. Damar Hamlin's definitely struggled in that regard. Taron Johnson, he's always there's going to be times where Taron Johnson makes a good tackle, and there's going to be times where he just slips off because he's 5'9".
Right.
There's that's just sort of the limitation you have with him. I don't want to make too big a deal of this. And maybe that's just because they did win the game. I don't know, but I do think that it's something that can be corrected by the players there's not really anything that the coaches can do other than just say, like, you guys know what to do. Go out and do it. Like, yeah, we can't just sit here and go through practice, tackling a bunch of dummies like you're in high school or something. Like, you guys know how to do this.
Right, they're in the NFL. They know how to do this.
Right. Yeah.
They've been doing it for a little bit of time.
Right. It's, so I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill like a good podcast would do, or at least a popular podcast would do. So I think that in the long run things will be fine. But it is frustrating to watch at times, and sometimes, at least in the last couple weeks, it feels like 3 missed tackles happen on like one play. Like that Bam Knight touchdown against the Jets was like, what, 3 missed tackles or 4 missed tackles? That Raheem Mostert run was like 4 or 5 missed tackles or whatever. It's just like so many times it happens just on like one play where you have multiple missed tackles, and usually that's what leads to a big play, but that's where I think a lot of frustration comes, is that sometimes a missed tackle can happen and then somebody comes up to clean it up behind you, and then it's not that big a deal, right? And that sort of serves a purpose of like, the first man there doesn't always have to make the tackle, as long as he can be in a position to slow them down so that the rest of the defense can rally and make the play. But if the rest of the defense comes around and also misses tackles, that leads to a big play, and that's where I think a lot of the frustration is now, is that these missed tackles are leading to big plays. It's not that the missed tackles are, one guy or 2 guys just sort of, being in position but not being able to finish, and then somebody else can clean it up for them. It's multiple guys not executing when they need to execute.
It is. It's frustrating, but like you said, we're not going to make a mountain out of a molehill here. I think they will figure it out, and that they have to, right? Because like you said, they at the beginning of the year they were fine. It's just like Ralph Wilson Sr. again. Thank you for joining us. Writes, tackling is an attitude, not a technique. It is, but like this was football weather. Get up for this game. Should I just evolve into like Boomer Football Head? I think that's a great evolution of the brand.
I mean, that's basically what 3-year Letterman is, right?
Oh, you're right. I was saying a couple of weeks ago, I want to be the Bohemian Bills fan, where I just wear turtlenecks and have like really really out there takes. But now I'm just like, nope, run the ball, give him the lumber, like
run the ball and play defense.
Exactly. We don't need Josh Allen. Put Case.
Give me that ground and pound.
Put Josh Allen at running back. All
What's
right,
Thomas Jones doing these days?
We've devolved. What's your second takeaway?
My second takeaway is that Trey White is mostly back.
Mostly. Not all the way, but most of the way.
Not all the way. There are a couple plays that were like vintage Trey White, defending a couple of those out routes where it was just like, that's what I remember. That's what I remember. He got cooked on that touchdown by Tyreek Hill. You know what? So be it. A defensive back getting beat by Tyreek Hill deep. A tail as old as Tyreek Hill. I mean, come on. Like, I can't be upset and like, oh, Trey White isn't who he used to be. It's like, honestly, Trey White in 2021 probably would have given that up. Like,
he's done it before. It's not like Trey White hasn't gotten beaten by Tyreek Hill before.
Right. I mean, this is the NFL. The other guys get paid too, and some of the other guys are like, Hall of Fame level good. And sometimes, and that's what they're gonna do sometimes. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that, Trey White is done or cooked. And I don't think anyone was really saying that. It was just like, of course, Tyreek Hill beats Trey White to score his touchdown. But it was still a good game from Trey White. He looked more confident. He looked more comfortable. He looked like he was just sort of more normal. It looked like he was starting to get more into himself, get more into the rhythm of the game. I think that as the season goes on, it's going to get better and better for him. And, honestly, when you're heading into the playoffs, it's kind of what you want, is a position that tends to be very up and down, a position that tends to be pretty volatile just year to year or even game to game. You want him feeling better and more confident in the postseason. And he's going to have a tough test come in a couple of weeks against the Bengals with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
That's
gonna oh my gosh, that game.
I want to know. I would love if I could talk to Leslie Frazier for 5 minutes. My only question would be, and whatever his answer is, my response would be why. But my question would be, which cornerbacks are you playing against the Bengals? That's all I want to know, because I'm gonna have questions probably regardless, because it's probably gonna be Trey White and Dane Jackson. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Dane Jackson, who by the way blew that cover 3 look and allowed Jalen Waddle to walk in. Well, not walk in, but accelerate for the end zone for that touchdown. Meanwhile, Kyer Elam broke on that Tyreek Hill screen immediately. I mean, he almost intercepted that ball. That was like, if Elam had intercepted that ball, I mean, the next week would just be subtweets or maybe even just very direct tweets about Leslie Frazier, like, "Hey, is this the guy you're gonna sit for Dane Jackson?" And it still should be that, if we're being honest. Yeah. I mean, I am not like the film junkie that people like Eric and Anthony and Kendall are. I don't always dive super deep into everything, but can you remember a play where Elam was getting beat or where Elam was getting exposed or attacked? It didn't feel that way to me. I mean, just on my initial watching of the game, it didn't feel like they were just consistently going after Elam or anything like that. And I don't know exactly how much Elam was on the field. I can have my producer look that up real quick while we banter for a bit. But it was it felt like Elam was playing well. And Tre'Davious White, I mean, he's starting to come into his own more and more as he comes back more into the lineup. So I am very excited personally to see how that continues to go. Here we go. Let's see.
Good. That was a very
I was
well
almost
done.
Perfect. That was good. That was good. Good for me. And our producer. Kyer Elam, 28 defensive snaps, 47%.
Okay.
So about 50-50.
It's still odd, but
it is odd. I'm not saying it's not. I would rather see that more in the 60 to 70, maybe even 100%.
Right. This is why you drafted him. And I would understand, you drafted him in the first round, and I understand Leslie Frazier probably did have somewhat of a hand, somewhat of a say. But ultimately, it's Bean, and he can't really predict how things. Well, he can predict how things are going to go. That's kind of what his job is to an extent. But just again, if things take one turn, whatever, right? And you have to divert from your plan. That's what good people, good coaches, good executives do. Right. But in general, just you drafted him in round 1, so you could have Tre'Davious White and Kyer Elam as your 1-2. And so you don't have to worry about recycling or cycling through a carousel at cornerback 2 every year anymore. Right. You don't, right? You solved the problem. You invested a first round pick into it. And if Kyer Elam was laughably bad and just playing so poorly that he couldn't be on the field, that'd be one thing, but he's not. He is at worst thus far, or at least I don't want to say thus far, but in the last couple of weeks, he has been at worst inoffensive, right? At worst, not bad. And it's just you compare that to Dane Jackson, who is, like you say, messing up plays. It's I don't get why at this point Dane Jackson's the guy who you're giving reps to over Kyer Elam, but.
It goes back to just the way this coaching staff is sometimes, where they just love their veteran guys. They love their Ramon Humbers of the world over Matt Milano. I don't get it. I don't agree with it. It just seems to be how this coaching staff handles things, and it's frustrating. And I would like to see Kyer Elam just sort of take his lumps if that's the worst case scenario. And honestly, if he's so bad that he needs to be benched, well, then you can go back to Dane Jackson. So be it. But like,
Right.
You gotta give the more athletic guy, the more talented guy, an actual chance to do what he can do. So
They just like they honestly do like their underdogs, right? And they like their guys. They like you said, they like the guys who have been around in the system.
they don't like unknowns. They definitely do not like unknowns. And I think to them at this point in time, Kyer Elam is still somewhat of an unknown to them.
Right. And I do think we are going to see, or I would hope, and I genuinely think we are going to see somewhat of a changing of the guard here in the next couple of weeks, because like you said, they kind of viewed Kyer Elam as an unknown, right? We would have the off game here or there. He would have the good game, but then he'd also have the Pittsburgh game, if you will, or just the game where he'd give up a few plays. And Dane Jackson comparatively was the steady hand, right? He was the, we're not going to get all pro, all world play out of Dane Jackson, but we're also not going to get many back-breaking mistakes. But those back-breaking type mistakes are starting to, I guess, pile up for Dane Jackson. So I do think they are going to make a change here. And if they don't, I mean, I don't know why they're not. Again, I don't want to get into Dane Jackson, Christian Benford. I don't want to do this right now. I do want to talk about what is right and what is wrong, though. That's a hell of a segue. This is the segment where we talk about what went right and what went wrong in this game. So I went a little off the beaten path this week for what went right and what went wrong, just because, look, Josh Allen played really well. And James Cook played well, but did James Cook do enough for me to make him my what went right? No. Ken Dorsey had a pretty solid first half. Did he finish the game out strong enough for me to make, for him to be the what went right? I don't know. And then you had Tre'Davious White. So I don't even really have a what went right. So I guess I would have to just say the first half offense, because there did seem to be some general cohesion. And again, they were executing there in the first half. Josh Allen finished the first half with over 200 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. But again, it kind of does just trail off there in the second half for a bit, and then they transition there, and they do get Josh Allen going on the ground in the fourth quarter when the snow starts coming down, and the Bills win. So that's really it, right? It's weird because this is a big win, a playoff clinching 32-29 victory over the Miami Dolphins in you further strengthened your hold on the division. You'd think more went right in this game than it did, but I really am left looking for answers here. Bruce Ma writes, T-Bass, impressive from Tyler Bass to be automatic.
All pro Bass.
Absolutely.
I swear to God, if Justin Tucker is the all pro kicker this year, I can't be responsible for what my reaction is. I mean, Justin Tucker has not been Justin Tucker this year. Let's be honest. Harrison Butker also missing kicks for Kansas City. I think McPherson has been fine for Cincinnati, but Tyler Bass has been the guy this year. Multiple game-winning kicks in the snow in Detroit. I mean, that was a big kick that he needed to make. I mean, he needs to be the All-Pro. Can you think of another kicker who's doing what Bass is doing this year?
Dicker the kicker.
Who has been on multiple teams?
I'm just joking. That was a joke. I like the name. That's why I said it.
That being said, Cameron Dicker has been a godsend for the Chargers this year.
It's a great name. It's a great brand, right? We were talking about brands on this podcast.
How much better can you get than Dicker the kicker? Can you imagine if he was in Buffalo?
Oh my God. I see, this comes back to me yearning for bad football, right? Where it's just I want these cult heroes back. It's I love Tyler Bass. Tyler Bass is a really good kicker to have, and I'm glad he's on my team. His name's not Dicker though. His
name's not Dicker the kicker.
Oh yeah, can we stop trying to make Bassomatic happen
I don't love that.
It doesn't make sense. If his name was like Tyler Botto, right? Like if it rhymed with auto, that'd be one thing. But Bassomatic? Like that doesn't make sense. Like I remember like I think I don't remember who coined Bassomatic, but I was like, that's really stupid. And I just retweeted it. I was like, Stephen Hauschka drills it. That's Hausch standing. And it's like, that's better than Bassomatic. It's far better than Bassomatic.
I thought Hausch's thing was Hausch money.
It is, which also doesn't make sense. No, that makes some sense because like House
it makes
money,
a little bit of sense.
Right.
It's a little bit of sense.
It's stupid.
Bassomatic doesn't. I don't get it.
David, what went right?
Well, no, I got plumped out. For me, what went right was the red zone, and we talked about it a little earlier. But the red zone was an issue for this offense for quite a bit of this season, and for an offense that was under Brian Daboll very good in the red zone, it's regressed a lot this year, and even as far as last week against the Jets, I mean, the whole offense just really struggled.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, 3 touchdowns in the red zone just on the first half alone. Yeah, I'll take that. And then to not only get the other touchdown late in the fourth or in the middle of the fourth quarter, and then the 2-pointer. I mean, it was that's what you want. This is exactly what you want from a red zone offense. And for a team that's been kind of missing that for most of the year, hats off to Ken Dorsey for that one. They were 4 for 5 in the red zone. 4 for 5. Good stuff.
Good execution. Yeah.
That's what you want.
Again, Nyheim Hines got a red zone touchdown. I mean, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
On exactly the type of play that Nyheim Hines should be doing more often, quite frankly. So
Quentin Morris.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. It just again, maybe I did
James
like
Cook.
in hindsight.
You're the running back that you drafted to be your receiving back made a receiving play, like an actual receiver in the end zone. That's great.
He did, but I'm struggling to give, I guess, Ken Dorsey credit for that, because if you watch the play, James Cook just kind of cuts out of the backfield, parks his rear end at the line of scrimmage, or not the line of scrimmage, at the goal line, and then he runs over into the back of the end zone, then he runs back, where it's like, Ken, that might have been Ken Dorsey told him verbatim, okay, you're going to go to the line, or you're going to go to the goal line and then run there, and then when Josh Allen starts rolling out, you're going to roll back. Like, but I doubt it, right? That was just kind of James Cook, being a smart football player and figuring out what to do.
I understand that, but like execution is part of it, right? And there's part of it that's going to be on your offensive coordinator calling the right plays, and he definitely did that. I think he definitely did that. And then there's going to be some times where your players just have to go make a play, and they definitely did that. So that's red zone. Red zone did well.
Good stuff. Apparently, it is a reference to Bassomatic from Saturday Night Live, which is,
oh god, that's why I don't know it.
It's a program that I used to very much love the Saturday Night Live, but I liked the Andy Samberg era, Bill Hader era.
Did you say that Saturday Night Live was a program?
It still is a program.
I mean, are you sure you haven't entered your football boomer stage yet? Or okay?
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah.
It's a slow transition, but I'm all the way there now. All right. Jack writes, Hines for Moss trade, so good. Well, actually, Zach Moss is RB1 in Indy now, maybe. So
that's right.
Did you? I'm sure you did watch that game.
He looked exactly the same.
He looked like Zach Moss. He looked a lot like Zach Moss looks.
So I don't feel any differently now. Good for hey, you know what? Another Brandon Bean trade W, if you ask me.
Common Brandon Bean W.
Brandon Bean W.
That is, I love Zach Moss. Good for him. Like my thing that I never was, again, this is football boomer take. The thing that like always irked me to an extent about Zach Moss is like he had a brand, and it's like, dude, you're Zach Moss. Are people buying Zemo merchandise? Like, I thought it was quite funny. And just like then the Bills get James Cook, and I was like, okay, yeah, I like James Cook. James Cook also has a brand, and it's like,
Does he?
he does. But the thing about James Cook, or the thing about Zach Moss, is that he would smile when he would promote his merchandise, which at least, was nice. He had a nice smile, I guess. James Cook is just like, he looks like he'd rather be doing anything else than posing with merchandise, and it's quite funny. Have you ever, do you follow James Cook on Instagram by any chance?
No, but I feel like now I should.
So James Cook, that's his brand, right? We're another brand reference. But what he does is not smile. He does not smile, which, again, as someone who also has resting bitch face, I can agree, or I feel his pain. But like, what James Cook does is he does these ad things, right? He does. He's partnered with a beard company, and he posts these ads where he's like, I love this beard oil. It's the best beard oil. And then it's just him so disinterested, and like he's just go to his Instagram, people watching this chat, but also keep this open. But just like all I know is that if I were paying an NFL athlete to promote my product, and he posts that, I'm like, thanks, but like, it doesn't look like you like my product that much, right? It doesn't look like you're overly fond of my beard oil. But
Stephon Diggs actually commented on this post.
What did he say?
He said, "This pic still don't make me want to buy it either."
Exactly, right? It's just like, well, yeah, I'm sure James Cook got a bag for doing this, but like, I don't want the beard oil. God. Like, he doesn't look. James Cook does not look satisfied with this product. Why do I want it? Like, Roman writes, his teammates gave him so much crap for this post. Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh my gosh.
What went wrong? This is where we talk about what went wrong. James Cook's Instagram post went wrong, but no. The run defense, again, this is another thing where it's like I could touch on a number of things. I guess run defense would be the most pressing. Again, 9 missed tackles against the run, and Raheem Mostert, as Kevin wrote earlier in the chat, Raheem Mostert, not good DVOA wise when it comes to being a running back, and he actually gets some production against the Bills. So a little concerning. And again, we talked about this in the Cover One chat the other day, David, but just like we talk about the run defense, and it comes down to it being the same issues every week, where it's just like they're over aggressive, they get out of position, and then they're exposed. And it's just like, well, and then Greg had a good point. He was like, yes, but the thing is that this defensive line is so aggressive, and, it's designed to combat the modern NFL offense that is so pass heavy. So like, they just want to get guys after the quarterback. And if you're going to give up some run plays, whatever, right? If that's how your team is designed, you live with that. You live with the results when you're getting consistent pass rush, which the Bills kind of not so much in this game, but at times this season have done. So I guess really what went wrong for me would be oppression. We were oppressed in this game. It was disgusting. And not we, because I wasn't there, right? God, no.
Speak on it, Bohemian Kyle.
I know. I certainly was not going to that football game. That was, if you went, good for you. But you would not catch me within 10 miles of that stadium, but I do live within 10 miles of the stadium, but whatever. So you did catch me there, but no. The fans were oppressed in this game because Mike McDaniel is a narc, okay? Bad guy Mike McDaniel.
Ironic for someone who looks like he's high half the time that he talks.
So, again, everyone watching this podcast, I'm sure, watched the game, but let's just give a little refresher on what happened. It's like midway through the game. I believe it was the second quarter at this point. Bills fans are having fun, right? Bills fans are throwing snowballs.
As they do.
Because they got a foot of snow before the game. The Bills neglected to hire people. Well, again, I don't want to say neglected because the logistics of it were impossible. But the Bills did not shovel off the seats, right? The bleachers that you sit on. They just said, once you get here, figure it out yourself, is what they essentially said from what my understanding are. So he was getting, so the fans were then taking the snow, making them into balls, and throwing them at Miami Dolphins, and they were hitting a few strays, right? They were hitting some people along the way. And then Mike McDaniel is seen talking to Peter Schrager on the sideline and asking what could happen. Like, could the Bills be assessed a 15-yard personal foul penalty for the behavior of the fans? Which is, it's like, what? And then the referees get on the microphone and they're like, stop throwing snowballs. The Bills will be assessed a 15-yard penalty. Yep. And it's like, you can't do that. You can't punish us. You can't oppress us. I sent out a tweet suggesting that this was Orwellian-like, right? Like, this was like 1984, right? You can't do this. Is oppression. This is ridiculous. And my DMs were over flooding. The DMs were like, Kyle, you don't know what you're talking about. You've never read 1984 if you think this is what it's about. So I went to the source material, okay? I grabbed my copy of George Orwell, 1984. And now, you'll be was shocked
this given to you in high school?
It's my sister's.
Very good.
But you will be shocked to know what's in this book, David. Are you ready for this? What happened regarding the snowballs in Buffalo versus Miami is literally in George Orwell's 1984. So the people are wrong, okay? It's straight out of 1984. It's disgusting stuff. But thankfully the Bills did stop, or the fans did stop throwing the snowballs, and Bills won. They sang "Let It Snow" there at the end of the at the 2-minute warning. I thought that was a nice touch, right? It was a really nice touch for the Bills fans to sing "Let It Snow." David, what are your thoughts on George Orwell and Mike McDaniel being a narc?
So much commitment to the bit.
Yeah.
Fuck. I don't know anymore. Screw you, Mike McDaniel. You lost this game. That's all I gotta say. No. Let's talk about Mike McDaniel for a second. That was a very, very weird post halftime interview that he had with Peter Schrager. I'm pretty sure he said, "Yeah, we just need to score, and we're gonna score by scoring, and like we just need to score. We gotta score. You know, we gotta score." It's like, what did you say?
It was talking. Dude just says stuff, right? Have you ever seen those TikTok comments where it's like, dude's just saying words? Like, that is just Mike McDaniel.
It's really like Michael Scott when he was like, sometimes I'll just start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it by the end of it. It's just like, it's just a weird dude, man. And like, in terms of like entertainment value, Mike McDaniel is very high up there. But man, like, there's just times where it's just like, if you're a Dolphins fan, you have to just sort of be like, who hired this dude? Like, what was the interview like with Mike McDaniel to be your head coach? It's so weird. But the other thing with McDaniel was, like, I mean, they ran the ball well, which is not something they've been able to do for most of the season. But then they got into the red zone and into short yardage, and it was like, oh, let's just throw. It's like, why? Like, I don't get it. This was the 49ers run game coordinator. That was his job with the San Francisco 49ers, who probably have one of, if not the most diverse run scheme in the National Football League. And he's just sitting there like, oh no, we'll throw in the red zone. We'll throw on 3rd and short. It's fine. Even though we're picking up, huge chunks of yards on the ground, where we'll just throw on the red zone. Very weird. Very, very weird. And this is sort of for as much as we complain about Ken Dorsey, Mike McDaniel, who is heralded as a genius offensive mind, which I don't totally disagree with, because he is very, very good. And you can see that anytime the Dolphins play. There's also times where it's just like, dude, you are so clearly a first-year head coach and first-year play caller. Like, there's growing pains for him. There's growing pains for Ken Dorsey. It's just growing all around. It's like we're in 5th or 6th grade again. It's great.
Chris writes, he's the opposite of Bill Belichick, but they both say essentially the same thing. Right. They say the same thing in different cadences, though, right? Where it's just like, Bill's just like this, like, like a miserable old man. And then,
we weren't expecting Jacoby Myers to really lateral the ball.
Boy.
Wait. No. Hold on. We gotta.
Right. Yeah. No. You have the opportunity to do it right. So
we gotta make sure we do this. We gotta get the whole bit here.
It's really good.
We really weren't sure what to do with Jacoby at the end of the game, but we just gotta execute better. That's on us, and we're gonna do better. It's just a mistake on our part.
That's really good. That's actually really good. And then McDaniel says the same thing.
We gotta do what we do. And then somebody will ask him about like who really like helped revolutionize punting in 1935, and then that's like a 10-minute soliloquy.
Right? Yeah.
And with Mike McDaniel, somebody could just ask about like 1990s rappers, and he'll go on for like 20 minutes about that. I'm sure.
Is McDaniel the new Belichick? The contemporary Belichick.
Only when he hires, like, I don't know, Doug Marrone to be his defensive coordinator.
There we go. That's the evolution. That's the evolution. Right. He's forward thinking. Do you know how there would be people who would applaud it? There would be people who'd be like, this is the new wave of the NFL, right? We're just more and more of this stuff's gonna happen. And it's like, no, it's not. What are you talking about? Roman writes, he's just a little awkward, but he clearly knows what he's doing. And I don't know why Bills fans get so worked up about him just because he's a little unorthodox. No, he clearly does know what he's doing. And I do see, that's the thing, is I think he is a good coach. And it's just absolutely weird.
They would not be in this position right now if he was a bad coach, because that defense ain't shit. I mean, that special teams, despite how well they played against the Bills, has been pretty bad all year. The offense has been the thing that got them 8 wins so far. Like, he knows what he's doing. I just don't really, he's just a weirdo, which is fine. He's just guy. Yeah.
David, what went wrong?
I'll tell you what went wrong is the offensive line, and I don't think it's going to get any better.
Oh, boy.
Anytime Greg Van Roten is on the field, I think years are shaved off of my life. It's not good. They basically can't go under center when Greg Van Roten is on the field. Because you really just can't trust him to snap the ball cleanly and effectively with Josh Allen under center. You have to go in shotgun. Gosh, there's so many things that Mitch Morse does for this team in the run and the pass game that I think don't get talked about enough. And if he's out for an extended period of time, or, God forbid, just retires because this is 6th documented concussion, I don't know what you do there. And, I've brought this up a couple times this year, but it's the same team that took Boogie Basham over Creed Humphrey in the 2020 draft, 2021 draft, 2021 draft. Yeah. And
yes.
No, it was 2021.
Okay, yes.
2021. And you could easily have a legit all-pro type of center right now, or guard if you wanted to keep Mitch Morse center and move Creed Humphrey to guard or whatever. Instead, you're left with Greg Van Roten, and hopefully Ike Butker can stop the bleeding a little bit. That's where you're at right now.
You're hoping now at this point. You're hoping that you have the guys on your roster who you can kind of piece it together. Do they? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But it's concerning, right? Just this line is not good, and like I don't want to talk about.
Now that being said, about Mitch Morse and this concussion, it was not something that stopped the game, right? It was not something that he was. It's not like he was in Keel Harry out there or whoever it was. No, not in Keel Harry. Who was it for the Patriots?
Keel Harry's a pull. I don't.
Who was it for the Patriots? That Devontae Parker. God, that was like brutal. Where like he clearly could barely stand up, and nobody was stopping the play. And Nelson Aguilar's like, "This dude's like gonna pass out. Stop the play." So it wasn't that dramatic. It was not. It was something that apparently somebody on the training staff noticed, did a little check. He went to the blue tent. They did a test. Then they brought him into the locker room. So first of all, good on whoever spotted that to actually go and check on it, because it clearly wasn't an obvious thing. But then hopefully that means it's not too serious. But regardless of how serious or unserious it is, it's still a concussion for somebody who's had a lot of concussions in his career. And you don't know which one is going to be your last one. So, yeah, it's tough.
True. I hope, again, like Butker, answer our prayers. All right. We're moving on to everyone's favorite segment. It is True or Rubbish.
True or Rubbish. Let's go.
Let's go. Again, the marriage saving segment. Everyone loves this segment. The people, it's saving marriages, saving lives, really, if you think about it at the end of the day. So let's just get started here. This is the segment where I give David a number of statements, and he tells me whether or not they are true or rubbish. And y'all can get involved in as well in the chat. I'll put your answers on the screen. This is an interactive thing, right? This is a community. We're all here together.
I'm sorry.
All right. David, true or rubbish? Cole Beasley reclaims the starting slot role before the start of the postseason.
Oh, true.
This was true all after all. Can't believe it. It was true.
Like, I'm sorry, but a washed-up Cole Beasley is still probably more consistent than Isaiah McKenzie at this point.
I personally am tired of watching Isaiah McKenzie play football.
And Isaiah McKenzie had a perfectly fine game in this game, which was nice. That was but like, oh my gosh, I can't. I'm done with it. I'm just so done with watching Isaiah McKenzie do what Isaiah McKenzie does. Like we said, coming into this season when everyone was trying to hype him up. Oh, he just needs all these opportunities. He was so good in that New England game, blah, 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 blah. It's like, this is a dude in his 7th NFL season. He is who he is. He's been the exact same player every single year he's been in the NFL. That's fine. He is not that guy, though. He's not that guy, bro. Trust me.
Not that guy.
He's not that guy.
Yeah, no, like I said this on people are saying true. I said this in the Cover One chat a couple of weeks ago, where it was just like, I used to love Isaiah McKenzie, and now I'm not a big fan of him, just through no fault of his own, right? Just because like people have kind of pretended that he's like this actual serviceable starting slot in the NFL. I'm like, that's not what he is. That's just not what he is. He
is at best your 4th best receiver. At best.
Right. I don't know if
is fine.
I don't know if current Cole Beasley is a starting slot receiver in the NFL either. But
I don't either, but like, I feel like at least I can expect Cole Beasley to catch the ball and run a good route and be and read coverage well. I don't know if I can really trust Isaiah McKenzie to do that. So
hey, he's a nice enough guy. He's a nice guy.
Very nice guy. No one's arguing that point.
Moving on. I'm not going to do what's the second one in the document, so we're calling an audible.
Are you sure?
We already talked about it. We already trashed Mike McDaniel enough. All right. I asked this question last week about the Jets, so I'll ask it again here about the Dolphins. True or rubbish? The Buffalo Bills will see the Miami Dolphins again this season.
Rubbish?
That is rubbish.
I guess. I don't know.
It was all rubbish.
Like, part of the way that they would be able to do that is if, like, the Dolphins were the 7 seed, beat whoever the 2 seed is in the wild card round, assuming the Bills are the 1, which is not a guarantee.
Right.
And then they beat the Bills in the divisional round.
It could happen.
It could happen. I'm not saying it won't. I mean, I guess I just said it won't, but it just seems
there's a
very
path,
unlikely.
though. There's a path.
There's, I don't know. It just seems I'm a little iffy on Miami making the playoffs at this point, which, like, given the
crazy.
winning streak they were on, is probably going to piss off a lot of Dolphins fans. But, like, you know, honestly, it's fine if they don't make the playoffs this year. Part of what they needed to establish this year is if Tua was actually going to be the guy. And I think with McDaniel, I think he can be their guy. Yeah. So that's fine. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of teams in the AFC, and we'll see. But I have my doubts that the Bills will see the Dolphins again.
Thankfully. So, a little context here. The Green Bay Packers released Sammy Watkins today.
That they did.
And Sammy Watkins, loves Buffalo, as we all know. Bills legend. So here we go. True or rubbish, the Bills should bring Sammy home.
True. They should totally bring Sammy home to his lizard gods on Mars.
I love Sammy Watkins so much. Do
you know that Sammy Watkins is where I live, or is from where I grew up?
You live with Sammy Watkins?
I wish I lived with Sammy Watkins. That would be a trip and a half.
It would be an interesting.
But no, he's from Fort Myers. He went to school at Fort Myers High School. From Dunbar, which is a not great area of the 239 community. Just he's a freaking weirdo, man. There's no other way of putting that.
I love him.
Just a strange person, which is exactly what I would expect from somebody who lived and grew up in the Fort Myers area.
So, that's donut right. Sammy is awesome. True, if he's going to work. Are the people actually open to Sammy coming back? I was just joking. Homegrown talent. Are the people open to Sammy coming home? If OBJ is not going to come, right? Let's push that narrative that the Bills would rather Sammy Watkins, right? Because they want the homegrown talent. They want a guy who knows what it takes to win in Buffalo, right? That's what it's all about. You got to win in Buffalo in January. And if there's one guy that knows about playing in Buffalo, it's Sammy Watkins. I was so in on Sammy Watkins in 2014. I think we all were, right? How could you not have been after the Bills traded?
I loved Sammy Watkins.
He was an incredible prospect, a very fun prospect. I didn't think he was a fit for the Bills, but again, I was like a kid, and I also didn't think it was like, I don't know. I didn't think they were going to get him. It didn't seem like it was something that Doug Whaley was going to do, and then they do. Which again had to get your quarterback a weapon, because EJ was certainly going to be the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. There was no doubt about EJ, right?
Sad. But you know what? I want Sammy back. It's not going to happen. Absolutely not. That I don't see any scenario where he is back. But yes, give me the chaos, right? Like I said, I yearn for bad football. I want the cult heroes. I want the stories, right? I will not be happy unless one of Sammy Watkins or Lafayette Pitts are on the roster when the Buffalo Bills win the Super Bowl.
Hey, cut Cam Lewis and bring back Lafayette Pitts. Yes,
he's a better teamer. He's a better special teamer. But again, I'm
gonna spend the next minute just shitting on Cam Lewis.
Go for it.
What in God's flat green earth are you thinking? Going for the block in that situation. Is 4th and 10 at midfield. He didn't even come close to that ball and just smashed right into Thomas Morstead. What? For what? Yeah. For what? There was absolutely no reason to be doing this. Incomprehensible. Just bad. I can't. People were mad about him giving up that Justin Jefferson catch in that Vikings game. Oh, how could you go for the interception? Blah blah. You know what? He was put into a bad position. Starting at safety that he'd never done before. He was right there to make the play. He panicked against one of the best receivers in the NFL. I'm not going to make a big deal out of that. Being on special teams is what keeps him on the roster.
Yeah, that's the only reason why he's here.
And then you go and do that. Not again, didn't even come close. to touching the ball. What are you doing? I can't. I was losing my mind after that. I just could not believe that actually happened. And of course, that leads to a touchdown. It's just horrendous.
Lafayette Pitts is currently a free agent, just so you all know.
He's out there.
I don't know.
Brandon
know.
Bean, bring him home.
Bring him home. I do not think you guys comprehend what will happen, what will occur on this podcast if the Bills re-sign Lafayette Pitts. I will go live. I think I've said this before. I will warn nobody. I will just be on. I don't care where I am, what I'm doing. I am hacking into the StreamYard and I am going live and having a celebratory stream. I'm popping bottles of champagne, right? We're getting drunk together to celebrate the return of Lafayette Pitts. Maybe he'll make a special appearance. I got to make it work. Just sign Lafayette Pitts. Give me one thing. Okay. Does that wrap up the podcast?
I think we're done.
Cam Lewis played at UB. Enough said. Yeah, again, this regime loves their guys, and Cam Lewis is very much one of their guys. For whatever reason, right? They just whatever. They're good. This is a good regime. I generally like them. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the Cover One YouTube channel. The subscribe button is down there somewhere, I think. It's big and red, so click that button. Also, make sure to stick around for the Air Raid Hour. That's going live in like 40 minutes roughly. So make sure to stick around and check them out. Also, make sure to check out the Film Room tomorrow, and then the Going Deep podcast. I think that's also tomorrow. Then we got this guy's coverage. We got Cover One Buffalo. We got If the Walls Could Talk. We got the Fantasy Show. A bunch of great content always coming out here. So make sure to stick around for all of that. And also subscribe to Cover One Pass. Become an insider today for all that great exclusive content. Also, please make sure to check out Cover One, our sponsorees, if you will, or our sponsors. No, it would just be our sponsors. BetUS and Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Cover1 for both of them. Thank you so much for sponsoring this show and Cover One in general. Make sure to subscribe to the iTunes feeds for all the shows. Okay, thank you. Make sure to follow David on Twitter at.
You all can follow me at DFAUXY on Twitter, at DFoxy. You will find many lukewarm takes and maybe some slightly emotional tweets during a particular football game every week. Kyle, where can the people find you on the Bird app?
You can find me on Twitter at Kyle Silagyi. Thank you guys for watching, and we will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.